Hi there, it's Cycle Camp again, and today I want to show you some stuff about a MAK 90 that I recently purchased. And when I purchased it, it came with this magazine, which I believe is a Chinese magazine. There's no markings on it, so it's kind of hard to tell. But it's an all-metal magazine, and just like everybody else in the gun community, I hate only having one magazine. So I happened to be talking about this on the Gun Channel's forums the other day, and one of my friends on Gun Channel, Rupan RX, Rupan RX, mentioned to me that he had a couple of U.S.-made magazines that he thought might fit. And if you look at them at first glance, when you look at these magazines, they look very similar, right? The front notches. In fact, let me bring the camera down a little closer so you can see it better. There we go. So if you look at these magazines, they look very similar. I mean, they're not quite the same height, but they do look very similar. They both have very similar cuts in the front, and they also have, the back tab is also very similar. So the way the back tab is set up is pretty similar, and you would think, actually, you'd think these two magazines are pretty close. The funny thing is, this magazine, this original magazine, only holds 5 rounds, whereas this magazine holds 10. And the reason for that, if you open the magazine up, you will find that there is actually on the follower, there is like a little shield on the follower, which does not allow, this little shield here on the follower, does not allow the follower to go any further down than 5 rounds worth. And I thought it was a 10-round mag. At first, I stuck 6 in it, and I had a hell of a time getting that 6th round out of that magazine after the fact. So I thought that was pretty funny. And the other thing is, which is not very obvious, but if you look at the tops of these magazines, and it's really hard to see because I've already done some filing work on this. This original Polymer magazine stood up about this much higher, and so you could not get the bolt mechanism would not clear it. So it would drag and it'd slow the bolt down. So basically what I did was I took a Dremel tool and I dremeled down the tops of the feed ramps a little bit to try to get them clear. I haven't quite got it exactly where it needs to be, but it's pretty close. Now, I also did a little bit of work back in this area and in here to get this to lock up properly. So today what I'm going to do is I'm going to try sticking them in the gun and ejecting them. I've been waiting to do this at the range, but it's been sub-freezing for the last week, and it's going to be sub-freezing for the next 4 or 5 days, and then we've got more snow coming in. So I said, well, I guess I'll take a chance and do this here in the house. I don't normally like loading and ejecting firearms in the house, but we'll give it a shot and see what happens. So I'm gonna bring the camera back up again. There we go. Bring the camera back up so you can see what's going on. And so here's the original magazine. You know, it snaps right in there, no problem at all. You can see the bolt reciprocates very nicely, no problem at all. And in fact, we'll throw a couple of rounds in there. This is my first AK. I've never owned one of these before, so that's pretty cool. For me, I live in the communist state of Connecticut, so it's very difficult to get stuff like that here. So I should be able to. I'll just cycle right out of there. It cycles really nice, so that's wonderful. Let's get some of these bullets out of the way. Okay, so try one of the 10 rounders. Now this is not, I have to give this a little bit of an oomph to get it up there. And actually I haven't tried putting it in with the rounds in it, and it doesn't look like it wants to go. So I guess I'm not through polishing this one yet. Just for fun, I'm gonna hold the bolt back. Yeah, see, it clips in fine with the bolts back. So that may just be me, but it went forward fine. But see it's hanging up still. It didn't quite close. And now I've got a round stuck in here, so I'm gonna pull that out, get the round out. So that obviously needs some more work. So we'll set this one to the side because it needs some more work. We'll try the other one. Again, this one won't go in unless I bring it back, and it's hanging up. So this is not going to work out. So we're going to need to play with these some more. Okay, I've spent a lot of time trimming the tops of these feed lips, and also the front of this because when the bolt goes to turn, it was hanging up here. So these feed lips needed to be brought down a little further. This guy needed to be turned a little bit. I also took just a little bit of material off the back here. And everything is working great, except I can't load the gun with 10 rounds in the magazine. And I happen to be working on the first part of this video, and Rupan actually came on the live chat, and he said, oh, those were originally 5-round mags, and I modified them to hold 10, but I didn't have a gun to try it with. So basically what's happening is this, if you look at this, if you look at these rounds and I push really hard, right, you can barely see them moving in the magazine. Well, that's not enough relief for me to actually get one of these to go into an AK and come up, because these, obviously the rounds push against the bolt carrier inside the gun. So what I've done with this one is I've gone in and modified it a little further, and you can see this one has a little bit of play. You don't quite have enough to get another shell in there. Maybe you could, but it wouldn't work anyway. But that's basically what's going on. So I'm going to show you what I did. Now this is luckily Rupan came on the chat and told me what he had done previously. So let's strip the rounds out of this. Now remember we talked before, when we first started the video, I showed you the difference in the two magazines. Well, it turns out these two magazines are functionally identical, and the difference is this guy had that long pair of wings that came down from the follower. So let's open up this other magazine and see what's in there. Last time I did this, I got a spring in my face, but not quite this time. Got one in the gut. That's all. But that's okay, I got a big gut. So you'll notice this follower, this plastic follower, has a pretty long side also. Well, it used to be about that long, and Rupan had already trimmed it back a little bit and made there's a notch in the bottom because there's a piece here in the bottom of the follower that's got to clear, so there's a little notch for that piece. So basically all I need to do to straighten this out is first I got to get the spring out of here. There we go. So all I really need to do, and basically the way I did it, because I'm fairly lazy, is I took a marking pen and I marked about 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little less, but about 1/8 of an inch of material on this. So that's about what I want to take off. Not a huge amount, but just a little bit. And luckily the tip of this pen, if I hold it at the right angle, I get just about the line I want. And then of course we're also going to have to knock off this back area here as well to make enough room. Now these are made out of a hard plastic, and it doesn't really file very well because it gunks up your files, and it also makes a mess. If you use a Dremel like I like to use, it makes a mess. I use a Dremel with a turning drum on it. So basically what I'm going to do, don't try this at home, kids, because you'll cut your finger off. Basically what I do is I use a circular saw. So I use a circular saw blade. This is a fairly dangerous thing to do. In fact, I was cutting, one time I was doing, what do you call it, the stuff around the door, you know, casement door, and I was just trimming it off to size, and I was doing it like this, and the thing got caught, and it walked right up and right across my finger like that, and I still have, you probably can't see it, but I still have a scar across here. Luckily I didn't cut the tendon in my finger, but that was worth a trip to the doctor. But anyway, but this one is rolling this way, so it's going to go, if it goes anywhere, it's going this way, so I'm going to stay, you know, slightly behind it. And basically I'm just going to cut these two ears off, and we'll see how that goes. I'm doing this just a little at a time so that it doesn't get hung up in the material and run away or kick the material out at me. And this will leave it fairly ugly. I mean, it'll be fairly straight, but it will be a fairly ugly cut. Wait for the wheel to slow down. And I'll trim this up with a file afterwards. But that's basically all I'm doing is cutting off enough material to let the rounds clear the bolt mechanism in the AK. So, okay, so you got the idea from the other thing. I'm not going to make you sit through all of that, so we'll just fast forward this and clear the melty bits. The saw actually doesn't really cut the material. It actually kind of melts through it. You can see the little lines we have on either side. So let's get let me switch tips here, switch heads. Come on. I like to leave a little bit of the shaft exposed because when you take these apart, it's easier to release the arbor if you push in, because that's how the arbor clamps. So that's why I like to leave a little bit. I don't want them at the bottom. So basically I'm just going to trim this up. I'm basically just cleaning up the crap on either side. Cut this one down just a little bit less than I did the other one because Rupen suggested try to make sure you don't have so much clearance that you can get another round in there, because boy, when you put that extra round in and it gets stuck, it's a bitch getting it out. I had that same problem when I thought the metal magazine was a 10 rounder instead of a 5 rounder. I get my handy Leatherman out, finish off this other guy. To go, yeah, didn't quite hit this. So I'm going to see if I can Dremel it off of this. Didn't quite straight line it, so there is supposed to be an angle to this. These are supposed to be at an angle, so that's good. All right, clean all the gnarly bits off the table, and let's screw the thing together. And luckily with this, you can use the floor plate to tell you which way to put the thing together. Okay, so there's the floor plate. together. We'll get the cover on there. Of course, I'm holding it in the wrong direction, so we'll turn it around and do it again. Okay, now this is what I did wrong the last time. You'll see the pin for the keeper for the follower is not all the way up, so the follower is not laying flat. So this time I'll remember to bring it all the way up. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And if we look at the edge here, so now we have a little bit of slack. Okay, so let's pick up the camera, and we'll get an implement of mass destruction. We'll see what happens. Helps if you put it in the top side first. Oh yeah, snapped right in. No problem at all. So let's. Oh, no, but it won't open. Aha. Oh well. So I got to go a little more towards the back of the mag. I've got to go a little bit more. Make sure there's no bullet in there. Okay. Just for fun. I hadn't tried the other one yet, so maybe I probably have the same problem in this other mag. Nope, that one actually worked. So the one that's in the firearm is good, but we gotta do some more work on this other one. Like I said, I took off a little bit less material this second time, trying to do it right. So I'm gonna take this other mag and clean it up a little bit. But you get the idea, and basically I'm on the right path. So all I got to do is lower this a little bit more towards the back, and we'll have two working 10-round mags in there. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. It's been an interesting way to go, and thanks again to Rufan RX for helping me out with this.